Hey everybody, I was just making sure I could do hands free on this. So I wanted to talk about something. Um, this is part of it's gonna be a life update video. Part of it's going to be about loving Veronica. So this isn't gonna be very long. I'm just going to do it really quick. Over the time that I've been trying to write Loving Veronica and the different versions of Loving Veronica, I've been going through some life changes. One of them coming very recently, which is the fact that I'm in a brand new apartment. I used to have a 2 bedroom apartment in Casper, Wyoming. Now I have a 1 bedroom apartment that is by choice because of some personal stuff. But anyway, so with Loving Veronica, it was originally supposed to be between Marcus and Veronica. So Marcus DuPont and Veronica Greenwood, and Veronica Greenwood was supposed to get in a car crash after her college graduation, after a college party, and then she was supposed to slowly turn into a vampire. So, as for the mechanics of that, introducing the mechanics of her now being undead and then turning into a vampire, I'll be honest, I wrote up a lot of different drafts, but I couldn't really tie in the supernatural aspect to the original draft because she was supposed to die, then come back in the hospital, like come back alive in the hospital, and then from that point, slowly, chapter by chapter, turning into a vampire, turning into a monster. And it wasn't really supposed to be grotesque. I took a lot of liberties from, well, I took some creative liberties, not a lot of liberties. Let me redo that. I took a lot of liberty, well, some liberties. Can't speak right now. I took a lot of damn it. I took some liberties from like movies like The Fly, The Thing, a little bit of Teen Wolf, but the point of these creative like stories, to me, the reason why I picked those particularly is because they're about change, and you have the uncertainty. Like, yeah, you have the grotesque stuff with Jeff Goldblum and The Fly, and then you have the funny quirkiness of Michael J. Fox in Teen Wolf. And I'm saying yes, the cheesy 80s movie Teen Wolf that came out in like 84, 85, I believe. I think it was before that because it was 83. But anyway, yeah, and then with The Thing, you have Kurt Russell, and obviously it's a classic because you get a lot of that the visual effects, you get the atmosphere, like it all happened at the space station, and to be honest, when it comes to writing a story like Loving Veronica, I want to focus on the dialogue. And to be real with you, my personal life, until moving into this apartment as of like a week ago, has been crazy. Like, so I mean, during like the 5 versions of Loving Veronica that I've tried to write, because there was the original version of her being a college girl and then turning into a vampire, and then the second version of like that was more kind of like a Anne Rice knockoff, like a Anne Rice interview with the vampire knockoff, which was her her kind of just like, being like an ancient princess, and her going through 800 years of battles and different types of lovers, and then coming upon Marcus, right? So there was that. It was like it was a Lost Boys and um Interview with a Vampire knockoff. Um, and then the third version was just like a Sinners knockoff, where it was like, oh, it took place in a Creole town, um, and even though it takes place in Louisiana, where some of my family is from, and where a lot of my roots, being French Caribbean, is from. But anyway, it was just, there was a lot of rewrites, is what I'm saying. There was a lot of rewrites, because for me, I write myself into a hole sometimes, right? Like, because as a writer, you can create um, the world you want to create, but it has to make sense within that world, right? There has to be a connection. Okay. And then the fourth version is the version that I feel most comfortable with now, which is more of like a Velvet Buzzsaw meets Neon Demon type, which is, uh, you know, um, Marcus is a Caribbean artist in Louisiana. He's getting to be famous and well known. And then he goes too far into his artwork, because he's obsessed with it. He's obsessed with the fame. He loves his art, and he has a heart attack, right? Um, but before that happens in the current storyline, he meets this girl named Veronica, who's this, Transylvanian, um, like this Slavic Transylvanian origin, supermodel, right? But little does he know that this supermodel is really a vampire and all this type of stuff. So yeah, it is romantic, but I also want there to be like a horror thriller aspect to it, and I want the supernatural stuff to just be there. I don't want it to be like, oh, now it's introduced because this happened. Nope, it's just there, and I want the audience to kind of have fun with it. But I do also want it to kind of just go over the different aspects of love. So I think with Marcus's chapter, we're gonna focus on obsession, and then with Martha's chapter, who is going to be Veronica's like lesbian interest, we're going to focus on like lust, right? On lust, and then with Veronica's chapter, right, which is going to be chapter 3 in this version that I'm writing, we're going to focus on perfection. So all three of these characters intermingle with each other at different times. I don't really want to set a lot of set pieces in the story. I want to set a origin set piece for Marcus, which is his apartment going to the art studio, and then I want to set a piece for Veronica, which is taking pictures at the art studio, like kind of posing with the art, being sexual and sensual with the art, just being provocative, like bringing in a lot more of that female flame with the art. And then with Martha, I want her to kind of focus on, like she's conventionally pretty, but she's not as pretty or as well known as, she's not as pretty as Veronica, and then she's she's not as famous as Marcus. And with Martha, I want to kind of pull from what's it called? Interview with the Vampire, as in like Martha is not Louis, okay? Marcus is Louis, and like Lestat is Veronica, but Martha is Armand. So Martha knows about Lestat and Louis, but he hates it in the books, right? So my point with Martha is that she is attractive. Okay, she is attractive. Okay, but she doesn't see herself as conventionally attractive because she works at the art gallery and stuff like that. So yeah, loving Veronica to me, like, I don't want it to be like, oh, Hollywood, Oscar worthy story writing, but I do want it to be like an indie gem. Right now, it's not gonna be unique, right, as a creative project, because that's like, it's not only really hard to do, and there's a lot of creative avenues to pull from. So we're going to use some, but I wanted to post this video to kind of, go over the new version of Loving Veronica that I've been working on for probably about 2 months, which is the fact that, which is this one. Marcus is a young, late 20s to early 30s artist in Louisiana who is coming up into fame and greatness with his art. Okay? He befriends and falls in love with the supermodel Veronica Greenwood, who is really a vampire, who is really a perfectionist, who will not date anybody who's not a vampire, not willing to be immortal, not willing to do what it takes to be perfect, right? Because there's ambition, but she's really hyper focused on the perfectionism that is Veronica Greenwood. She's not focused on anything else. And then there's Martha, who has a crush on Marcus, but then also has a crush on Veronica because of how drop dead gorgeous she is, because she's a supermodel. But also then she gets lustful for Marcus and Veronica and their relationship and what that could mean for her if she was a part of that. And it's not like, oh, this is like a smut book, it's about a sexual threesome. No, I'm not really trying to write that. I'm more of trying to build the innuendo, and yes, this is going to be more of an adult book. But like, I'm more of trying to tap into where the characters are in this point in time, how they're feeling. And that's why every chapter is going to be around the art studio. It's going to be focused on the art studio. That's going to be the main set piece, right? Until the third chapter, where it moves a little bit outside of the art studio, right? But I want there to be that psychological world building, right? Because if I use multiple set pieces in my story, I feel personally the reader's going to get lost. The characters and their thoughts, their feelings with Martha, Marcus, and Veronica, their thoughts, their feelings are going to be they're just gonna be overlooked by the set pieces because I just want to focus the story on them. I want to focus the story on how Marcus is an obsessed narcissist, right? And then I want to focus on how, Veronica, because she's a immortal vampire, for the time being, she's an immortal vampire, right? Who is vain because she knows she's pretty. She's also egotistical, right? So she's an egotistical, vain narcissist. And then with Martha, who could be conventionally pretty in the real world, she is more focused on something that is supernatural. She is more focused on a beauty that is supernatural, and because Marcus is a part of that, keep in mind Marcus has money, Marcus has status, so of course Veronica is going to want to make Marcus at some point, but during that transition, if it ever happens, and I'm not going to tell you because that's a part of reading the book, but Martha just gets obsessed, right? But Martha is one of those, she's also a narcissist in the way where she feels that her pain is valid for how she is feeling about Veronica. She's willing to do whatever it takes for Veronica. She's willing to kill for Veronica. She's willing to, lie for Veronica, and etc. etc. My point is that with the obsession of Marcus, with the perfectionism of Veronica, and the vain and the vanity, and the really the lustfulness of Martha wanting to be around both Marcus and Veronica, they all kind of go in tandem, and it's more of a graphic Greek tragedy on why you shouldn't, the moral of the story is that it doesn't end up how you think it's going to end up in your head, and so I thought that was a more powerful story to tell. Now with the fiction elements, I do want to focus on Veronica being more of this neon demon type of vampire. Like she's not out here, ripping people apart with her strength, like in what's it called, Anne Rice's Interview with Vampire, and in the series. It's not gonna be that bloody, so Neon Demon more focuses on, what's gonna happen, but we're not gonna show it in the movie, and and then what did I just? There's another movie that I compared it to. Man, sorry, I'm recording this in real time, and I'm not gonna edit it. But so I kind of want to allude to the fact that yes, she's a vampire, but Marcus doesn't really care, or doesn't really, care to know that she's a vampire or investigate that fact, because he's too obsessed with the status that Veronica brings him, and he's more than willing to do what Veronica says, and he doesn't care that Veronica is using a vampire lure tactic and all this stuff. And then Martha is so lonely where she just is well, I know I'm conventionally attractive, but I'm not as attractive as Veronica, the supermodel, and I don't have as much money as Marcus, and I don't have as much status as Marcus and Veronica together. So I need to understand this. I need to understand, um, you sorry, Facebook did a stupid notification. But yeah, thank you. And, well, man. Just keep getting these phone calls. I was going. So with that, that's kind of the moral of the story. Is that it's not gonna whatever whatever these characters think is gonna happen when through chapters 1 through 3 is not gonna happen. It's really comes to a quite fantastic conclusion and a little bit of a bloody conclusion in chapter 4. But you guys have to stay tuned to the end of this week um to kind of see what I come up with the ending. Okay.